and we're just two guys celebrating India's win against Pakistan in the Champions Trophy.
Not a very unusual victory for India over Pakistan in recent times. Not
Yeah.
like the days where we were growing up and thinking, oh, when are we going to get another win?
Yeah, actually, I was actually going to ask you this first up. That did it seem anticlimactic? Like there was so much build up. India is not going to Pakistan, and then will they participate in the Champions Trophy? Then there's a match happening, and so much build up, and finally, it's a bit anticlimactic, right?
See, the thing is, India was never not going to play the Champions Trophy.
Right,
It was always going to be at best a bluff.
right.
There's no way India is not going to like we've made these big arguments in the past. Ki, oh, we are not going to play Pakistan in an international tournament and all that jazz. And then the moment the time comes, we chup chap play them. So there was never going to be a case of us not playing the Champions Trophy.
Right.
And BCCI, ICC at this point is basically the same. So they were always going to bully Pakistan into playing
Yeah, neutral
in
venue somewhere.
UAE. So that itself isn't particularly surprising. As for it being anticlimactic, again, if you think about it, barring that one insane T20 World Cup match in 21,
Hmm.
where Kohli, Haris Rauf and all of that,
Yeah.
barring that match, when was the last really memorable India-Pakistan match? I mean, I can maybe think back to the 2016 Asia Cup, where a couple of games went like really close. And even there, like I remember
Hmm.
this one match, I think Mohammad Amir took 3, 4 wickets in the
Right.
first over, but we were only chasing some 80 odd, and Kohli scored 48 or 49 or something like that. It was a tense match.
Hmm.
It was a good, like tight chase, but ultimately we were chasing like less than 100. So it was always going to be like an easy win.
Yeah. But I think in
So I think,
recent times, there's been a couple of times when Pakistan, like there was this whole record of Pakistan, right? In ICC tournaments, they've never beaten India. And then they just came back. I think couple of times they came back to beat India and then get the matches
no, I
close.
think
There was,
in Champions Trophy, they were always, it was always like, in fact, I was just checking all the stats. I think as of
Hmm.
right now, it's neck and neck. Like out of
Right,
6 games, we've won 3, they've won 3 in Champions
right.
Trophy.
Hmm.
In ODI World Cups, we've still never been beaten by them. And in T20 World Cups, that one time that we lost to them was that 10 wicket loss in 2021, I think.
Hmm.
That the UAE
Right.
wala T20 World Cup.
Yeah.
But uske alawa, also, I don't think they've beaten us in a T20 World Cup. It's just been a fairly one-sided, like at least in recent times, it's been a fairly one-sided contest between India and Pakistan. Barring that one, like I was just mentioned, that one 10 wicket drubbing that we had. Uske
Yeah.
alawa, it's been a pretty straightforward India winning in most cases, like in the last whatever, however many encounters we've had with them.
Yeah. So if we talk about this match, for me, it was I don't know. Like a lot of times we build up these matches and then towards the end they become something else, right? This match became a lot about Kohli and Kohli's 100 and Kohli's return to form. And towards the end, I think even in the commentary and even everywhere else, India winning was okay. India is going to win this match. But that whole narrative became about, Kohli and is he still relevant and he's answering back his critics and stuff like
But
that.
see, every time Kohli scores more than 50 runs, people are going to make it about Kohli.
Yeah.
Like, and this is through no fault of his, I should
Yeah.
mention. Like, I think he gets a lot of a bad rap because people think that everyone's obsessed with him,
Yeah.
which fair enough, people are obsessed with him, but it's not like he's going and telling people, hey, look at me, look at me. Like, he's just going about his job. He happens to be a very charismatic person, so everyone sort of zeroes in on that.
Hmm.
But actually, I was just, in fact, my dad and I keep texting. Like, he's a huge cricket fan.
Hmm.
I'm a cricket fan because of my dad's love of cricket. So we keep texting each other throughout games. And I remember like a couple of, I think earlier this year only when, or maybe a little bit last year when we were playing some match,
Hmm.
Kohli got out early in an ODI, and my dad was like, "What happened to Kohli? He's been in bad form." And I
Yeah.
had to remind him that like abhi 2023 ke World Cup mein he was scoring runs for fun.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
memory that people have is so short, and we have this tendency of equating someone's test form with their ODI form and T20I form.
Yeah.
But like if you look at only ODI cricket, Kohli has been in fantastic form. Like again,
Hmm.
2023 at least, he was fantastic in the ODI World Cup. Last year we hardly barely played any ODIs, and
Hmm.
now again like he's back to scoring runs. So it's not really a surprise. It's not Kohli coming back to form. Like Kohli's always been in form in ODIs.
Hmm. So, can I take the like little bit of even I felt this personally, and also there is this tendency in the public generally now that so there are so many senior players and stuff, and I also somewhere have started going towards this opinion that there are the Rohit Sharmas and the Virat Kohli, and you use them strategically wherever, but there needs to predominantly be a younger team if the seniors are not performing in certain formats in certain ways, and Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, and a lot of these people come under the pressure, come under the pump a lot for this. So for me, there have been times when I feel ki, okay, should we be getting junior people into the team, like infusing young blood more and more and stuff like that? What do you think about it?
So if you think about it, see, T20Is was actually India's weakest format. And
Hmm.
then the last T20 World Cup happened, we won it. And then
Yeah,
immediately after that, Kohli, Rohit, and Jadeja all retired pretty much at
yeah,
once.
right.
And then look at the current T20I team, it's completely different. The approach is
Yeah,
completely different.
right.
And these guys have been killing it.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that that is going to happen in ODIs as well.
Hmm.
But again, in ODIs, it's not like Rohit and Kohli are a burden. Like in
Hmm.
T20s, you could still make the argument,
Yeah.
does Rohit and Kohli, do they really fit into the modern T20 game? That was
Hmm.
an argument to be had.
Hmm.
In ODIs, that's not really an argument. Like Rohit Sharma just got 100, Kohli has just got 100.
Right.
So it's not like these guys have been holding the team back in any way.
Hmm.
Tests now, again, it's murky territory. Recently, these guys haven't been in great form.
Yeah.
But again, it's not like there are a bunch of younger guys who are breaking down the doors and saying, "Hey, humko select kar do."
Hmm.
Even in ODIs, if you look at it, like barring Kohli and Rohit, most of the other guys in the team are still quite young. Shubman Gill is a very young guy.
Yeah.
You got Yashasvi Jaiswal waiting in the wings. And I know he's just played like one or two ODIs, but
Hmm.
he's going to do well when he eventually does get the chance.
Hmm.
You got Shreyas Iyer, who's a young guy. KL Rahul is not that young, but like he's still younger than Rohit and Kohli.
Hmm.
Akshar Patel is young. So all of these guys, if not like young, at least like early 30s at most.
Right.
And these guys are still in their 20s.
Hmm.
So barring Rohit and Kohli and Chalo Jadeja, barring these three guys, it's still a fairly young team.
Hmm.
For me, the bigger concern is not the batting, it's the bowling.
Right.
Because right now, Shami is back after a
Yeah.
fairly long injury layoff, but he's also like what, 34, 35 years old
Hmm.
on paper at least. So he's probably not going to play very much beyond, maybe the next 3, 4 years, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bumrah is a phenomenal player, but he's obviously got his injury concerns as well.
Hmm.
So if you take out Bumrah and if you take out Shami, that is where I think the biggest red flag is for the Indian cricket team. This is not just ODIs. T20s
Yeah.
dekh lo
Yeah.
aap, ODIs dekh lo aap, Tests dekh lo aap. If you remove Bumrah and Shami, then we kind of are dangerously close to the dark days of India not having fast bowlers.
Yeah. And I think Hardik, as much as you make him open the bowling, he's not that kind of an opening bowler, right? Who's going to go in and like we used to have Bhuvneshwar Kumar
He's
and
not. He's
Shami
not.
and Bumrah, and he's not that kind of an opening bowler.
I think Hardik he's an excellent third pacer to have, but
Yeah.
he's a third pacer. Like he's not.
Hmm.
I think whenever he does open the bowling, it's yes, he does get the ball to swing. So that's probably the reasoning behind it, the rationale behind it.
Hmm.
But I mean, if you have Siraj, Shami, Bumrah type guys in your team, you obviously want them to open the bowling.
Right.
There are strategic reasons why he would open the bowling. Like you kind of get rid of a couple of overs of him early on, so that you don't have to have 10 overs of him in the middle order, for
Hmm.
instance.
Right.
Even then, like Hardik is a decent bowler.
Hmm.
In fact, people don't realize this. He's actually India's second leading wicket taker in T20Is, just behind Arshdeep Singh.
Oh,
Like Arshdeep
I
Singh
think
has
I didn't know
99
that.
wickets. Hardik has some 96 or something like that, 95, 97, aisa kuch hai. So Hardik is not a bad bowler, but yeah, he's not. He should not be your first choice bowler. He should be your third seamer.
Right. So can we now come to focus on this particular innings of Kohli, because I know it's going to be spoken about a lot, and people are going to make memes about it. People are going to make reels about it. People are going to make videos about it. There are going to be influencers who are going to say, "Oh, I always believed in him. Kohli is the man. Kohli is the one to face all the critics and go ahead." But uh, does it seem like the criticism overall on Kohli has been a little unfair? Like recently, I think I even saw this online, and we also spoke about it that Kohli's 14,000 runs, I think he's faster than Sachin to reach 14,000. And Sachin also, I don't think at this stage of his career, he was receiving as much criticism as maybe Kohli is, for his form and for all these other things. And even other things not even related to his form, like, oh, his personality, or is he a good fit for the team, or
But
is he too
that again,
aggressive?
that's always been the case. So Kohli has been one of the most divisive players of his generation from the time he was a young guy. Like,
Hmm.
you remember 2012 going down to Australia, showing the middle
Yeah,
finger to the
yeah,
Australian
yeah.
fans. But tab se leke abhi tak he's been getting criticism. Obviously, there's been a lot of love mixed with that criticism, but there have been Kohli's detractors who've been there from the start and they'll keep being there.
Hmm.
Whether, I mean, it's again, I feel like in ODIs, he's never really been in bad form. Like even 2019, that when he had that slump,
Hmm.
2019 to around 21-ish, those 2, 3 years where he wasn't scoring that many runs, he
Hmm.
was still like he wasn't scoring hundreds, but he was still scoring runs consistently in ODIs. Like even in the 2019 World Cup, he didn't score 100, but he scored what, 4, 5 50s. So he's always scoring runs in ODIs. Like ODIs has never been an issue for him.
Hmm.
T20s, yes, you can argue he wasn't batting that quickly. Tests, most definitely there's been a slump. But ODIs has never been an issue. So whatever, like whenever people are criticizing him for ODIs,
Hmm.
it's basically they're transferring कि उसने T20s में ये किया है या नहीं किया है, उसने टेस्ट मैच में किया है नहीं किया है. But
Hmm.
ODIs, in my opinion, there's never really been an extended period of time where he's not been a very good ODI player.
Hmm.
And that's true again right now. Like the thing is, I think he's definitely not the Virat Kohli of 2016
Yeah.
who would just completely dominate bowling attacks, left, right, and center. That is not the case anymore. But he is still one of the best run accumulators there are. Now, if you are on a batting on a very flat pitch, जहाँ पे आपको when you can score 450 runs,
Yeah.
then he might, if he bats for an extended period, you might not get 450, you might get 425 or 430.
Hmm.
But on difficult pitches, on low and slow pitches, he's still going to accumulate runs and he's still not going to take risks and he's still going to graft and get those runs, especially if he's chasing like he did today. I think today was a very classical Kohli innings in that
Hmm.
he knew he never had to take risks, so he just didn't take risks.
Yeah.
Like he's not someone who's going to hit a six because he can. For him, does the situation demand a six? If so, I'll try and hit it. If it
Hmm.
doesn't demand a six, I'm just not going to hit a six.
Hmm.
He had Shubman Gill first, and then later on Shreyas Iyer, who was scoring a little bit more quickly. So there was never a pressure on him to pick up the scoring rate
Yeah.
very much. And even there, he's always going to score those quick ones and twos. That's
Hmm.
a feature of his innings. It's always going to be a feature of his game. Like I feel like he himself will retire when he cannot take those quick ones and twos anymore.
Hmm.
I mean, even at this age, he's what now, 35, 36.
36.
Even at
Yeah.
this age, he's still one of the fastest guys between the wickets. And this was, in fact, a feature of Tendulkar's game, which a lot of people didn't really talk about as much.
Hmm.
Tendulkar, right up until the point he retired, was one of the fastest guys between the wickets.
Hmm.
Dhoni again. So all of these really, really great ODI players, especially, a feature of their batting has been that it's never been a case where they're 60 from 100. Because
Yeah.
they'll always, if they're not finding boundaries, they're going to take those hard ones and hard twos. And
Yeah.
that's true of Kohli as well. So as long as his fitness is there, you can never really write him off.
Hmm. I think this thing that you mentioned, the first player that comes to my mind for these quick ones and twos is Mohammad Kaif, one of the people that was also, I think, was it a Champions Trophy? The final against England. What tournament was
No,
that?
that was NatWest Trophy.
The NatWest Trophy, yeah, and
Yeah.
that was the feature of his innings. I think that's where in the Indian team this whole thing came to the fore. That you run two in places of ones and you take the ones wherever it's risky. Yeah, yeah, that's true. So now it's become uh, uh, quite a main. What do you call it? Like it's been quite a popular theme in the Indian team now. At one point, it used to be like either you hit boundaries or you stand at the crease and that's it.
Yeah, I think, and again, that is the culture that Dhoni kind of brought in because Dhoni was again a mastermind of pacing the innings and taking it deep. The difference between Dhoni and Kohli is Dhoni knows he can hit a six at any point that he
Yeah,
chooses, and so he would pick his points. Kohli probably doesn't have the same power that Dhoni did when it comes to hitting sixes, but Kohli can still hit boundaries, maybe not at will anymore, or maybe not at least as much as he used to.
yeah.
But in his younger days, he was able to pick his spots and hit boundaries whenever he wanted to. But he just never had to because he was always he'd stay abreast of the run rate by just running those hard ones and twos, and that is still a feature of his bowling of his batting now.
Hmm.
And now I was just telling this to someone earlier today. In the 2010s, it was Rohit, Dhawan, and Kohli, and then uske
Yeah,
baad those three guys get out, then you start praying.
yeah.
Obviously, you had Dhoni still, who was a force to be reckoned with, at least till about 2016, 17. Then his performance also started dipping a little bit. But right now, you have Rohit, Gill, and Kohli. But even if these guys get out, then you have KL Rahul, you have Shreyas Iyer, you have Jadeja, you have
Pandya is quite a
Hardik Pandya. So you
good.
always,
Yeah,
like right now, you've got guys who can realistically win you a match, even if you lose your top three batters
yeah.
early. And that's not been the case for a lot of the 2010s.
Hmm.
Most sort of heartbreakingly in the 2019 semi-final against New Zealand, the World Cup semi-final,
Yeah,
India lost the top three, and then after that we were praying.
yeah.
And then ultimately it was those three early wickets is what cost India the match. Now I feel like if India loses the top three wickets, you still have guys like Shreyas and KL Rahul who can score runs later on as well.
But traditionally, I think the Indian team, as far as I remember, has never had a very flashy number three player. Like they've had very flashy openers. They've had like after a certain era, there have been finishers like Yuvraj and Dhoni. But the number
Yeah,
three is like someone like Rahul Dravid or someone like
yeah, yeah,
Virat Kohli. They've always been accumulators. We've never had like one, two, three, four, everyone who just goes after the bowling.
yeah. So I think probably before Kohli, honestly, I can't even think of someone who really made that number three slot
Yeah,
his. Like Dravid would bat at number three a fair bit, but then Dravid also batted four, would bat at five.
yeah,
KF would sometimes bat at three, sometimes, but more often batted four, five, six. So before Kohli, I don't think India had like a truly elite number three batter. Like,
mm,
you had a Ricky Ponting for Australia.
yeah,
You had a Jacques Kallis for South Africa. There wasn't really a number three of note before Virat Kohli. Again,
mm,
Dravid batted at three, but then he kind of batted up and down as well.
yeah.
Virat Kohli has always been a number three batter. Like once he established himself at number three, briefly went to number four to kind of accommodate other players and all that. But he's always been a number three batter.
Hmm. So, can we address the difficult question then when it comes to Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, which a lot of people, it's at the back of a lot of people's mind. It's definitely at the front of a lot of people's minds as well. But today I heard in the commentary, if like I think the post show Navjot Singh Sidhu was like there's still 3-4 more years left in this guy. But realistically, like I'm not sure. In fact, there's a part of me which still thinks that if we win the Champions Trophy, some of them might just say that this is going to be our last ODI. Like we
I
want to leave on a
don't
high.
I very sincerely doubt that a Champions Trophy is going to be a big enough occasion for these guys to retire.
Hmm.
My assumption as of this moment is that the next ODI World Cup is when, like after the next ODI World Cup is when at least Rohit will retire.
Hmm.
Kohli is still fit. Like when for that matter, even Rohit, we all know the jokes that are made about Rohit's fitness, but
Hmm.
the guy is still scoring hundreds and batting at an elevated strike rate.
Yeah.
So I don't think his fitness or lack thereof is hindering his batting particularly.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Rohit is also what, 37, 38 right now. Kohli is 36, 37.
Hmm.
So there is definitely an end date in sight. Now, the question is whether they decide if it's going to be after the Champions Trophy, after the next ODI World Cup, or if it's literally up until the point that they are sort of dropped from the team. Which, I mean, let's face it, neither Kohli nor Rohit are ever going to be dropped. They
Yeah.
will, at best, they'll be requested by the management to sort of put down their papers, as it were, but they're
Yeah.
not going to be dropped.
Hmm.
But again, realistically, I don't see them playing beyond the next ODI World Cup at least.
Hmm.
Uh, Definitely not Rohit, and I think not Kohli either, because I think both Rohit and Kohli would potentially have retired after the 2023 World Cup if India had won.
Yeah.
But the fact that they didn't win that probably made them feel like, okay, now we still have something to prove. But yeah, the next ODI World Cup is it's going to be difficult for them to continue after that
Hmm.
because they'll be touching 40, like pushing 40 at that point.
Right. Right.
So it's possible. I mean, these days, even 40-year-olds uh, are much fitter. Even professional sports people in their 40s are a lot fitter now than they were, 10 years ago also.
Hmm.
So as long as these guys are performing at an elite level, I don't think it's a problem. But yeah, the question is, will they be able to perform at an elite level once they're 40?
Yeah.
It's not something I can predict sitting over here right now.
Yeah. But do you think there's any merit to the argument which a lot of people make that there are so many talented young players also waiting in the wings right now? They want to be a
See,
part of the
talented
Indian
young players
team.
are
Will
always
you?
going to be there.
Yeah,
Talented
but
young
will
players are always
you
going to be there.
how much will you extend? Like I know that there are teams like Australia, for example, or somewhere I guess South Africa also comes under this category where they give the young players like you have one or two failures and they are very critical about it. They don't have this superstar culture as much where they say that we are not
But
going to
no,
drop this player.
that's also a bit of a myth actually.
Hmm.
Like Australia not having a superstar culture,
Hmm.
obviously they don't have the same type of superstar culture as we have in India.
Hmm.
But Steve Smith wasn't scoring too many runs for the last few years of his career.
Hmm.
There was no one was telling him, calling for him to be dropped.
Hmm.
Manas Labuschagne, who's not nearly as established as Steve Smith, he's also had a bit of a dry run. No one was saying that he should have been dropped.
Hmm.
So I think everywhere in every team, if someone has got a proven track record, you are going to bet on them to come good eventually.
Hmm.
Now, some people might have a run of dry form for a year, 2 years, 3 years, however long. But
Hmm.
if someone has before that for the last 10 years performed consistently, then you're going to give them an extended rope.
Hmm.
So you're always going to give a Virat Kohli and a Rohit Sharma more chances than you would give, someone who's only played, who's had like a peak of maybe 1 year. Like these
Yeah.
guys have had peaks for 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
So you're going to give them an extended run. And
Hmm.
there are always going to be young players who are good and who are, promising and all that. But unless your senior players are not performing for an extended period of time, there what is the merit in using age as a factor to chuck them out? Again, it's
Hmm.
not like Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli have been in bad form in ODIs.
Hmm.
Rohit had a fantastic World Cup in 2019. He scored 5 centuries. 2023, he was getting India off to great starts.
Hmm.
Kohli was scoring runs for fun. So it's not like these guys have been in bad form. Again,
Hmm.
like last year, India played how many? What, 5, 6 ODIs? You can't judge if a player is in form or out of form in 5 ODIs. Like
Hmm.
one series, anyone is going to fail. So I don't personally think that there is that age is a reason to drop Kohli and Rohit from
Hmm.
ODIs. Again, I'm only talking about ODIs at this point.
Hmm.
Tests,
Hmm.
yes, there is a different argument to be had for tests because in tests there has been an extended period of time where these guys have not performed at their optimum. So if we're talking tests, then yes, then I think both Rohit and Kohli, I feel like they would have wanted to play the WTC final. Now that they're
Yeah.
not playing the WTC final,
Yeah.
it's obviously it's their decision. No one is going to have the balls to drop them and sort of
Hmm.
make them retire. But I feel like if unless they are again super keen on winning a WTC final and therefore extending their careers,
Hmm.
I think now is probably an okay time for them to retire from tests, assuming they
Hmm.
want to. But ODIs, I don't think it's an issue. I don't think it's going to make the Indian cricket team better if Kohli and Rohit retire from ODIs.
Okay, so let's move on from the like individual players. If we look at the this particular Champions Trophy and how things are going, especially let's discuss a few teams and see like what the possibilities are. First off, if since today was their match, let's look at Pakistan and see how do you think like is now obviously we know everything is going to depend on the New Zealand Bangladesh match and then what the results are, and then if New Zealand win then it's just going to be out. But Pakistan, does there seem to be hope? Because Pakistan we know is always that team which will, if there is even a 1% chance in the end, they are the team who will surprise everyone. Does it seem like that to you with Pakistan? What does it look like this time?
Uh, I honestly I don't. I actually like the Pakistan cricket team. I'm always entertained by the Pakistan cricket team. Right now, I don't think they have it in them to do very much in this Champions Trophy, which is
Mm.
sad. I really wanted them to do well because cricket had sort of come, a big tournament has come back to Pakistan after a
Yeah.
really long time. So I was kind of rooting for them. But looking at the way they played the first 2 games, it doesn't seem like they have the kind of firepower that they need. And I think a lot of that is down to the fast bowlers not being at their best. I think
Mm.
Shaheen Shah Afridi was, in my opinion, one of the most dangerous and destructive new ball bowlers that we had seen like for a long, long time. But then
Mm.
he's had an injury and he hasn't fully recovered from that injury. Or I mean, if he's recovered, but he's not come back as the same potent new ball force
Yeah.
that he used to be. Like there was a time when Shaheen Shah Afridi with the new ball meant that you had 2, 3 wickets just guaranteed,
Mm.
which is not really the case anymore. Although he bowled a fantastic ball to Rohit today, but and that used to be the norm in the first over versus
Yeah.
after Rohit has already got India off to a good start. So Shaheen Afridi is not at his best. Naseem Shah, I do rate quite highly, but I feel like he's still sort of coming into his own as a bowler. I don't think he's as good as he's going to become yet.
Mm.
And Haris Rauf always seems like he's a threat, but then you look at the final scorecard and he's always going at 6 and 7 runs and
Yeah.
over. So he looks like he's about to take a wicket. If he takes wickets, well and good, but if he doesn't take wickets, he's gone for 42 runs in his 4, 5 overs. So and they don't really have a very strong spinner. Like Pakistan, considering the legacy of spin bowling that
Mm.
they haven't really been able to produce a really good spinner in ODIs at least for a while. So
Mm.
I don't see their bowling really being able to restrict good batting teams. And their batters right now, Babar Azam is not in great form.
Mm.
Rizwan, he batted well today, but he batted a little bit too defensively.
Yeah.
So I don't think their batters also sort of uh, going to be able to score 300, 350. And we've seen that the pitches are not that bad for batting.
Mm.
So I don't see them. either taking a bunch of wickets and sort of winning it with the bowling, and I don't see them scoring a bunch of runs and out batting the opponents either.
Hmm.
So, in my opinion, yes, Pakistan are a maverick team. You can never write them off, but I would be very, very surprised if this team does
Yeah.
anything of note in this Champions Trophy.
But what do you think is the where, like, for me, I remember from the ODI World Cup times, there's been so much discussion, and there have been. I've also like very keenly followed some of these Pakistan cricket talk shows where Wasim Akram and Waqar Yunus and a lot of these senior players. I really enjoy watching them and their discussions and stuff. And they are severely critical of the Pakistan selection process, the cricket team, the politics behind the board, all of these things, and there doesn't seem to be any sort of change in any of these. There was this whole controversy of Babar Azam and Shaheen Afridi, and then whether Shahid Afridi had some, stake in removing Babar Azam from the captaincy, and then how is the selection happening? Are there really no youngsters who have that kind of talent? Very surprising, because at one point Pakistan used to have not just in the fast bowling, in the spin department, in the batting department, they used to have overflowing talent at one point, and now they are not able to find anyone. It's very surprising. So for me, I don't see any way forward. Like, I can't see right now any way forward for Pakistan, at least in the short term, for their cricket to improve.
See, the thing with Pakistan has always been when you think there is no hope, they'll suddenly unearth this crazy, like even Naseem Shah,
Hmm.
he kind of came from nowhere. His first couple of years of international cricket, he was making batters hop left, right, and center. He took a hat trick in a test match. I
Yeah.
think youngest Pakistan player to take a hat trick, something like that.
Hmm.
So you you'll always get these crazy guys who come from nowhere and like suddenly do well. The
Hmm.
problem is they'll make an immediate impact and then they'll go down.
Hmm.
I think that is the biggest issue with Pakistan cricket. They haven't been able to nurture their talent. Like
Hmm.
if you look at a young Indian player, they might not have an immediate impact in the first year or two of their career, but
Hmm.
chances are that that guy, if he's actually genuinely good, he's going to have at least a 5 6 year career, if not
Hmm.
longer.
Hmm.
With Pakistan, the guy might be super talented and will make a big splash when he first comes on, but then
Hmm.
within a couple of years he's dropped, and then you never hear from him again.
Hmm.
So that has always been the issue with Pakistan cricket, and that's not a more recent issue. That's been a problem with Pakistan cricket for ever since I have at least started watching cricket.
Yeah.
So it's always been like even the cricket board. I think there was a while in the mid 2010s where
Hmm.
there were I forget the names of these guys. I think Shahryar Khan was one, and I forget the other guy's name. The Pakistan, the PCB chairman, it was literally a hot potato between these two guys. This
Yeah.
guy
Yeah.
would be elected, then 3 months later the other guy would be elected, then again this guy would come back, then again that guy would come back. So
Hmm.
that clownery behind the scenes has always been a feature of Pakistan cricket, and that again I don't know if it's any different now, if it's going to change in the future,
Hmm.
but Pakistan have tended to do well on the field despite their board and despite the politicking behind the scenes.
Hmm.
And I don't think that is a cause for concern necessarily just because it's always been the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they've always struggled, like I said, of nurturing talent. I think that is,
Hmm.
I don't know what the answer is over there. Uh, it's in many ways Pakistan is the anti-India in terms of like our former cricketers, the moment they say something negative about a current cricketer, they are kind of, whether forcefully or not, kind of silenced and not really considered uh, very noteworthy. Whereas in Pakistan cricket, like their former cricketers are always taking
Very
shots at
good.
the
Yeah.
current cricketers.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're always clowning. So that's just the culture, I suppose. But yeah, I don't think that um, the the way that Pakistan cricket functions is any different now from it was like whatever 10 years ago. So I don't know if that, I mean obviously it's not a healthy situation, but
Hmm.
that in itself is not the only issue. The issue is, for me, the bigger issue is them not being able to nurture talented
Hmm.
players and making sure that they play, for an extended period of time.
So let's think of some another thing which is again going to be a very very difficult question, and I'm also going to try and take a stab at what the answer to this could be. But the Indian team, as much as I hate to say it, they do have a tendency sometimes that they tend to like when the big matches come, there is something which goes wrong, and throughout like a tournament they will dominate. We saw it in the ODI World Cup, we saw it against New Zealand in the semi-final, which you mentioned. They'll dominate, and then one thing in the core goes wrong, and then suddenly you feel that it's all going wrong. So this time, what can it be? From I guess this time the fast bowling, like we discussed, if we don't have Shami and Harshit Rana has a tendency to go for runs. He's a youngster. If in case he gets nervous, he's not able to bowl in the right areas, and the bowling gets dominated. First two three wickets are going, but this time the team looks strong. Like they have, I think, 7 or 8 batsmen, and people can take the batting deep. The bowling has, variety. There are left arm spinners. They have Kuldeep Yadav into the mix. There's so much, but what is the thing according to you which can go wrong this time for India if it goes wrong?
See, on a bad day, everything can go wrong. Like, look at the
Hmm.
2023 World Cup. We
Yeah.
were absolutely unbeatable up until the final.
Hmm.
Then the pitch was a little bit wonky. Big players got out, and then you suddenly just had uh, KL Rahul got a lot of criticism for the slowness with which he approached his batting,
Hmm.
which was, in my opinion, valid criticism. But then, from his perspective, it was like, okay, Virat Kohli is just out. Now there is nobody else to bat later on.
Yeah.
I think that lack of batting depth is
Hmm.
is not going to be as much of an issue because you have your Jadeja and Hardik and Akshar and Harshit Rana himself can bat a little bit.
Hmm.
Uh, but yes, I think you're bang on that the fast bowling can potentially be a bit of an issue.
Hmm.
Uh, in my opinion, Arshdeep Singh should be playing ahead of Harshit Rana.
Hmm.
Harshit Rana might be a better batter, but I think Arshdeep he gives you a lot. Like for one thing, he adds variety to the attack.
Hmm.
Left arm pacer. If there is swing to be found, he'll find it. He is a good bowler at the death. So for me, Arshdeep Singh is a much better fit to the current ODI team than Harshit Rana is.
Hmm.
But at the same time, you I don't think you have if Kuldeep Yadav has a bad day, I don't think you have that one bowler who can really break open uh, the innings in the middle order,
Hmm.
in the middle overs rather. So Shami was going to get you wickets with the new ball, potentially get you wickets with the old ball. I don't know how many wickets he's going to get you in the middle, like in the 30 to 35 over mark, for instance.
Yeah.
If Kuldeep Yadav is in form, if he's in rhythm, he's going to take you those wickets in the middle order. I think that's probably the one place where India could potentially struggle
Hmm.
because with Bumrah, you get Bumrah into the attack at any given
And
time, he's going
yeah.
to take you a wicket.
Yeah.
Kuldeep Yadav, again, if he's at his best, he's going to take you a wicket, get you a wicket at any point in the innings.
Hmm.
Shami, I don't know with like I said, in the between overs, say 25 to 45, is he going to take too many wickets?
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know how many wickets Jadeja or Akshar are going to take in that period.
Hmm.
If it's like a flattish pitch, if the batters are playing them well, if there's something spicy in the wicket, then Jadeja and Akshar are going to be very dangerous. If it's a flat pitch, then the batters need to make a mistake rather than them outbowling the batters.
Hmm.
Kuldeep can outbowl the batter, Bumrah can outbowl the batter. I don't know how much Akshar and Jadeja can on
Hmm.
flat pitches. Again, if there's anything in the pitch, if it's
Yeah.
a little bit of uneven bounce, because they're super accurate. But if there's nothing in the pitch, then they kind of get neutralized a little bit. And if Kuldeep is having a bad day, which again he tends to have those bad days occasionally,
Hmm.
especially in big games, there is a tendency that he's not at his best. Whether he gets nervous or overwhelmed, I don't know. But he definitely does have a little bit of an issue in big games. So if Kuldeep isn't getting you wickets in the middle order, in the middle overs, and if it's a flattish pitch, then that is a bit of a dicey situation. And obviously, if Rohit and Kohli get out early, then the rest of the batters kind of go into a shell a little bit. So if those both of those things happen in the same match, and if it's in a semi-final final,
Yeah.
then that's where you're going to go wrong.
Right. So speaking of dominating the bowling, I just want to also move on to the other group. We've spoken so much about, India, Pakistan, New Zealand, but there's so much, like there's dynamic, there's like fireworks happening in the other group. Like it's going crazy. So this Champions Trophy, who are, first of all, just tell me who do you think is your favorite, or who are your favorites? Maybe one or two if you want.
Look, I was before the Champions Trophy started, I thought Australia are going to find it very difficult to win without
Yeah.
any of their bowlers, basically. Like, who are even the bowlers in this Australian team? And yet, you had Josh Inglis and Glenn Maxwell coming in and absolutely finishing the game the other day.
Hmm.
So you can never write off Australia. And I've I've grown up in an era where Australia dominated everything. So
Yeah.
I kind of have like a real chip on my shoulder when it comes to Australia, and I always
Hmm.
secretly root against them. So like I'm always no matter which team Australia is playing, I'm always cheering for the other team.
Hmm.
But uh, credit where it's due, they're a fantastic team. Like they're always going to be difficult to beat.
Okay, and besides Australia, which other teams are in the running this time, according to you?
Look, I think South Africa are a very interesting team because for one reason and one reason alone, I think Heinrich Klaasen right now is the best batter in those middle overs,
Hmm.
and he's probably the best middle order batter right now in ODIs.
Hmm.
I think he's one of those guys where if he bats for, even 40, 50 balls, he can really change the complexion of the innings. Uh, he's one of those guys where no matter how many runs are required, or even if South Africa are batting first, no matter how many runs they've already scored, if
Hmm.
this guy bats for an extended period of time, you're looking at a much different equation. So I think for that reason, he's sort of the trump card in the South African team. And then you obviously also have a great bowling attack. Kagiso Rabada, even Marco Jansen on his day can be really, really good.
Hmm.
So I would say South Africa are a very interesting team.
Hmm.
I also think New Zealand are, again, as they have been for so long, they'll be that one team that you can never fully write off. Like, even if you think that they might not do much, on any given day, they are able to elevate their game to crazy levels. I think
Hmm.
Mitchell Santner is a fantastic bowler for the conditions that this Champions Trophy is going to be played in.
Hmm.
He's also a pretty good captain. And then you have guys like Tom Latham who can kind of on those low and slow pitches, he can really, really, elevate his game.
Hmm.
Glenn Phillips is like a human highlight reel. Whether it's with the ball, whether it's with the bat, whether it's on the field, he can kind of pull off miracles. So I think all of these teams really have a lot going for them. If you ask me to pick only one team, which I think is going to win, I'm going to go with my heart more than my brain. I'm going to say India.
So definitely, I think yeah, semi-final is definitely from where I am seeing it right now going to be like South Africa, Australia, India, New Zealand, unless England have like some big ace up their sleeve which they're going to just completely change. And then in that case, I'm going to support England if they really from this situation turn it around and are in a place where they are looking like real contenders. Then I'm going to say it's going to be England all the way if they're going to be that good from this stage.
It's really crazy that England revolutionized the way ODI cricket was played
Hmm.
from that 2015 to 2019 period.
Yeah.
And then they won the 2019 ODI World Cup, and immediately after that, this became like a really bad team again. I
Yeah.
I can't explain it. I don't know if other teams kind of caught up with the way England played ODIs or what it was.
Hmm.
But the same England ODI team that looked completely unbeatable for 4 years between 2015 and 2019, a lot of the players are the same. Obviously, you've got a bunch of new guys coming in as well,
Hmm.
but the DNA of the team is the same, and they just look like a pale shadow of their former selves,
Hmm.
which I can't explain. I don't know why it's happened, but it's really interesting and honestly a little bit disappointing to see the way England cricket have again kind of regressed in ODIs.
Yeah.
Uh, Another team I also want to like you've talked about how you are hoping for England to do well. I'm
Hmm.
really hoping for Afghanistan to do well.
Hmm.
I love the way Afghanistan play their cricket.
Yeah.
I think Rashid is another guy like I mentioned Hydrid Klassen a little while ago.
Hmm.
Rashid Khan is that guy with the ball. He can and to be honest, overall, like he even with the bat, Rashid Khan
Yeah.
is capable of doing some pretty crazy things. So I really want Afghanistan to do well. I don't know if they're going to be able to make the semi-final, but
Hmm.
if they are, then I'm going to be rooting for them.
Okay. So we've now just left Bangladesh. Is there any possibility you feel that Bangladesh does it? We
With
can't
all with
write
all due
anyone off.
respect, with all due respect to Bangladesh, of course, you can't write anyone off. I don't see anyone in the Bangladesh team who can sort of okay, I'll put it this way. I think Bangladesh are a decent team, and they're certainly a much better team now than they were, 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Hmm.
But I feel like they don't have the kind of firepower that you need to go very deep in an ODI tournament. Like they
Hmm.
are capable of really doing well in bursts,
Hmm.
but I don't see them having anyone who can really kind of take a game, in a chokehold and really pull the entire team with him. So I
Hmm.
think that is like that the lack of Mavericks is what's hurting Bangladesh, in my opinion.
Yeah, and somewhere I think even in Bangladesh, the attitude with which I've seen Afghanistan come into international cricket and the way they want to dominate tournaments, they want to win, they have this whole aura and this attitude about them, and somehow even after so many years, I'm still not seeing that in Bangladesh, the killer instinct, or I don't know what to call it.
Yeah. And again, we haven't mentioned Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned West Indies for good reason. It makes me very sad that we haven't been able to talk about West Indies at all. Because
Yeah.
again, they've always been one of my favorite teams sort of growing up. I'm a huge nerd, so I love the history of cricket, and the history of West Indies cricket is great. But no
Yeah.
point talking about that right now.
Yeah. Lot of historically strong teams actually have fallen off. Pakistan also being one of them. Like we discussed
Yeah,
so much
absolutely.
about Pakistan, there are no more Wasim Akrams. That there are players who, like you said, do well in bursts and they have their highlight, but we don't have that sustained the Saqlain Mushtaq or the Wasim Akram or the Inzamamul Haq even. Where are those
Yeah, yeah.
players? Where are like the players like Yusuf Yohana used to be there? There used to be Saeed Anwar. Where are those players? And in Sri Lanka, where are the Arjuna Ranatungas of this time? And not just the Murli Tharan and the players, like the leaders, the people like Inzamam and Ranatunga and all these people who are like such competitors. Very hard to see. I don't know why.
I think even Sri Lanka is a very interesting case because they seem to go into these cycles of like a short period of dominance where
Hmm.
they'll win like 5-10 matches on a trot, and
Yes.
then in coming into a tournament they'll like just be completely listless, and you kind of wonder where are these guys who've been doing so well. Like 2 series ago they were doing really well. Now like 2 series ago they can't buy a win from anywhere. So
Hmm.
it's a weird place Sri Lanka in. I think yeah they are definitely missing the kind of presence that a Sangakkara or a Jayawardene had in the middle order.
Hmm.
They have these guys who'll do really well in those short periods. But yeah, it's again a little bit disappointing that Sri Lanka aren't the same force that they used to be. Like for me, in the probably the 2000 to 2015-ish,
Hmm.
Sri Lanka and New Zealand were the two teams that would always kind of it seemed like they were bigger than the sum of their parts, and
Yeah.
they always kind of punched upwards. I think New Zealand have kind of gone and they've improved and they've become like a dominant force in world cricket. Sri Lanka don't seem to be the kind of team who kind of punches up anymore, which is again disappointing to see.
Okay, and finally, if we come towards India's next match, which is going to be against New Zealand, again a very very tough one to predict, but I guess seems like could be a high scorer. See, by the way, like both teams are going, and I don't know, very difficult to predict
It's
as
not a
well.
playoff match, so we'll win easily.
It'll be interesting because in case India top the group and then who they play against and all of these equations going to be an interesting thing to see. What do you think? What do you look forward to in that match besides the batting? I think the batting is going to be the highlight of that. What do you think?
I would really like to see how Virat Kohli bats against Mitchell Santner. I think that's going to be a very interesting matchup.
Hmm.
And to be honest, I think Mitchell Santner is actually going to be a very difficult guy for the Indian batters to kind of get away just because he's such a restrictive bowler.
Hmm.
I think it's going to be crucial how Shreyas Iyer and Akshar Patel bat against him because I think these are the two guys who are uh, probably the better players of spin in the Indian lineup.
Hmm.
Obviously, if Rohit is on song, then Rohit is going
Yeah.
to massacre any bowler. But on a regular day, you would imagine that a Shreyas Iyer and an Akshar Patel would be kind of your trump cards against Mitchell Santner. With the ball, Shami, the last time he played against New Zealand in an ODI, he took 7 wickets for what was it, 58 odd runs,
Hmm.
and he completely like blew them away. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Again, I said it in jest a little while ago, but honestly, given that it's not a knockout game, I kind of have a little bit more confidence in beating New Zealand. The
Hmm.
moment it is a knockout game against New Zealand, I suddenly am not very confident anymore. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the moment it's a knockout, yeah, actually, there's a very interesting thing which I saw, which on Instagram, which is like not the best place to get information from, but apparently Rohit Sharma, one of the most successful ODI captains for India, and only 3 defeats in ICC tournaments or something like that. But most of the comments rightly pointed out those defeats were like finals and semi-finals. So is that I don't know.
I mean, we don't have to talk about that right now. When
Yeah.
we do have to talk about it, then we'll start praying. But for now, I think we can be confident that we're at least going to reach the semi-final.
Okay, so India reaching the semi-final for sure, according to us. Let's see how the next match goes. Shamak, really nice chatting with you, man.
Always fun talking to you, Sahil, and looking forward to doing this again, hopefully for the semi-final and finals.
Yeah. All right. So, guys, we'll see you next time. Till then, keep watching Kale Craze and keep enjoying the Champions Trophy. Bye.